Hi, I'm Dr. Chuck Betters, and I want to welcome you to Ask Dr. Betters, where we try to address rather tough questions that maybe on the surface seem to be unanswerable, and this is one of them today. Somebody asked this question: how do you keep living knowing you caused someone's death? How do you keep living knowing you caused someone's death? I assume from that what you're asking is nobody else knows that you actually caused somebody's death. You're keeping this to yourself, and you're bearing that secret and that pain all by yourself. Well, in my experience as a pastor for close to 50 years, I've run across this a few times. And in the process of having to deal with folks who truly did cause someone else's death and confessed it to no one, I can tell you they bear significant guilt and significant pain and significant heartache as the result of what they've done. Now, in our own personal life, my own personal life, our family has experienced this. There is someone who is out there somewhere that actually caused the death of our 16-year-old son. Now, we have forgiven them. We have gotten to the place where we know that God ultimately had a purpose for allowing this to happen, and so we've been able to forgive them. But the question is, are the folks out there able to deal with what they've done themselves? Well, Romans chapter 1 gives us a little insight as to what the answer to that question might be. In Romans 1, it says in verse 28 and following, speaking of a fallen race, a fallen people, man caught up in his own nature, his own sinful nature, fallen man, he describes it this way: and since they, that is fallen man, did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, maliciousness. They are gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Though they do know the decrees of God, those who practice such things deserve to die. They not only do them, but give approval to those who practice them. Well, that's quite a list. When you break that list down, it's a description of those who break all 10 of the commandments. It's a description of man in his fallen condition. And among those is the violator of the commandment that says, you shall not commit murder. Well, one of the ways that I have dealt with this in my career is I've encouraged the people who have been responsible for someone else's death to go and confess their sin to the proper authorities. Yes, they might have to pay a significant price for it, and they may have to go to jail as a result of it, but they will have cleared their conscience and put their faith and their trust in Jesus Christ to protect them, to literally have their backs when they commit such a violent act. You know, no sin is unforgivable except the rejection of Jesus Christ. And so even murder can be forgiven. And so I would encourage this person to run to the cross and find the hope that Jesus, who was murdered on that cross by my sins and your sins, who was crucified there in order to pay the price for, yes, even the sin of murder. You will find forgiveness, and you will find wisdom and direction. Vertically, horizontally, you may have to pay a steep price for it. And I would encourage you to have the courage to face that sin. I'd also like to encourage you to obtain a resource that MARKINC Ministries has developed. And that resource deals with exactly this question. It's the story of a man who did cause the death of someone else and the price tag that he had to pay for that sin. And I want you to visit markinc.org and look up that resource, because I think it would be very helpful in your case. It's the story of Mr. Mayer, and I hope that you will look it over carefully, study it, listen to it, and maybe you, if you wrote this question, you will be responsible enough to act in the same way that he did. No sin is beyond the forgiveness that Christ offers, except the sin of rejecting Christ. And so to live your life as a murderer without confessing that is to live in guilt, live under the weight of the shame of your sin, live in the heartache of your sin and the brokenness of your sin, rather than finding the cleansing and healing forgiveness that only Christ can provide. So visit markinc.org, look up the story of Mr. Mayer, and I think you will find that there's great encouragement there. I hope this helps.